Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Andrew.
Atitra. Caitlin.
And you're joining us in our podcast where we discuss articles from the CMU PTM blog spot. The address is at the bottom of the screen. If you're interested in any of the articles we talk about today, please visit the webpage and read them in full. Our first article today will be, what's our first article today, guys?
Our first article is called Laser Cut Sculpture Casts Intricate Prize-Winning Shadows. It's by Sammy Emery, and it's from Vice.com, and it's about an artist, Anila Quayum-Aga. I hope I'm saying that sort of right.
Yeah.
Apologies to you, Anila. But she's been awarded a historic total of $300,000 for winning both the $200,000 public vote grand prize and the $100,000 juried grand prize at the Art Prize International Art Competition in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Which is significant because she won both basically the popular vote and the fancy people artist jury vote. So there you go. And her piece, you should look it up, is pretty cool. It's basically, I mean, it's an intricate lantern.
A box.
Box with a light bulb in it that casts shadows on the floor and walls and ceiling above it. And I realized at first I was like, no, it's not that great. And I was like, well, she actually did have to figure out exactly what size it needed to be in order to project perfectly on all of those things. So,
Yeah, except it didn't.
It did look pretty good.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. It must not have been designed specifically for that room because
Yeah.
it didn't match the geometry.
But it was pretty close, I thought.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Or it's just
Pretty
an
good.
accident. I don't
But the room would have to be perfectly
Wait, so
designed.
do you
Yeah,
think she kind of like designed it to fit that room, or just like happens to be?
Well, it's hard to say because I don't know. The photo doesn't say whether
Yeah.
that was the room that it was displayed in or not.
Right.
It might just be a photo.
Maybe
I'm not
just
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'm
the
not
art
sure.
prize, I'd never heard of this not competition, but festival in Grand Rapids. It's an interesting festival. It's a totally open art competition. You don't have to be nobody from nobody in order to enter something. It seems pretty cool that it's judged exactly half by just public voting online and in person at the event, and by like you say, a jury of fancy people.
Right.
And it's not an insignificant amount of prize
I
money
was
that
gonna
they toss
say,
out every
I
year.
had a friend who does art prize, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I learned how much money that
And
is
you were like,
involved.
oh,
You're like,
yeah.
oh my god, yes.
Actually, where is Michigan? I still don't know. I think
It's up there.
it's up.
The art itself, like I personally would put this more in the category of design than art. I for some reason have to compartmentalize those things.
It's fine. Hey, that's you.
It is me.
That's you.
I'm gonna be me.
I love it.
And, but the fact that it actually had a deeper message, I think, was really interesting too. The Muslim, it's what she was hoping to talk about was the role of the Muslim woman in Muslim society. And I wouldn't have gotten that from this piece if I hadn't known that.
I was gonna say I was sure, but I didn't really get it.
Yeah. I don't really get it at all if I haven't read it.
But hey, great.
The idea, I think, is that she's the shining light
She's the
inside, and she's got all this sort of obfuscation that she has to work through to create this beautiful thing on the outside, which are the shadows that interplay.
Sure, and she's playing off the Islamic pierce work sort of.
Which is unbelievably beautiful and intricate.
Gorgeous,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful.
Usher based a lot of his designs off of Islamic tile work.
Sounded like you said Usher, and I'm gonna go with that. He based a lot of his songs off of Islamic pierce work. He did. Surprising.
I meant Escher,
I think that's what you actually would say. Just hear what I want to hear.
but Usher's cool too.
Yeah, they're both great.
What else do we have to say about this?
I think that's it.
Yeah, you can also like check her website if you want to see all the cool stuff. So I'm gonna show you like all the installations, like so many like interesting, beautiful stuff that she created. So like
Yeah,
you can
there
check
is-
her like blog website.
There is a link on the article as well,
Yeah.
and she's a very unique artist, I think. So
Yeah.
worth checking out.
Let's
There you
check that
go.
out. Yeah. Moving on to the next installation, design, artwork. This
Also
is
from Vice.com.
also from Vice.com. This is 8,000 illuminated balloons recreated the Berlin Wall. So like actually like this is just like 8,000 light bulb balloons, like kind of
I
like
think with LED.
LED in that, yeah, and just
Yeah.
and this
By designer and artist Christopher Bowder.
yeah, and he just kind of like put it all over like around the city to create this kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Berlin Wall to like you know
Right.
separate the East and West Berlin again for
Yeah.
2 days. I mean, I'm like, whoa, that's kind of a lot of job.
Yeah.
Like, actually for 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that?
Well, it's the 25th anniversary, which actually of the fall of the taking down of the Berlin Wall, and yeah, the balloons line the exact spot where the wall used to stand.
Yeah.
I don't know. I at first when I saw the article title, I was like, oh, that's gonna look really dumb.
Yeah.
But actually, looking at it, I think it's pretty beautiful and poignant
Yeah.
and sort of. I think the idea is that you can sort of imagine each one of those balloons as a story of the division that occurred, and really what it makes me think is how crazy it is to think now of Germany as two countries.
Right.
Like
That's
it's
so
so
recent,
foreign to, and exactly just
Yeah.
25 years ago. I mean, I remember when that happened. I don't know how old I was. I was 13. I
I
was a
remember
teenager.
too. I was 1 year old.
I was
And it was,
I was-
really moving for me.
I was a teenager. I was in 8th grade, and it was a very seminal event when it happened.
Right.
Huh.
Well, and you do think, I mean, about how significant that must have felt because this wall was put up to sort of cut off those people who were figuring out how to circumvent
Mhm.
communism. You know,
Right.
so they're like, no, we're actually
We're
gonna,
actually-
yeah.
blocked.
So that's, I mean, and it's, and like like you just said, it's so recent. So to think of these
Right.
people that were, you know, they're living amongst experiencing very,
And I actually,
Real stories.
I feel like the choice of the balloon as sort of a representational device for
Yeah.
the wall was interesting because what it made me think of is the balloon being a thing that doesn't know the wall is there,
Right.
sort of. Like I can imagine balloons from some, you know, if they had birthday parties with balloons in East Germany. I'm not sure if they did, but if they did, I can picture a kid letting it go and it floating over the wall, sort of,
Sure.
you know, like
Oh.
as if the border didn't exist.
right.
So,
Well, and they do talk about that in this article that you could sign up basically to almost sponsor a balloon and
Totally.
give it your
Yeah.
story. I don't know physically how you give it your story.
I
does
think
it
they're
say?
tying it to it.
Tying your story,
Mhm.
and then they'll all let them go as the 25 years later after the wall fell. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, 25 years after that, they'll all let go of their balloons at the same time, which will be November 9th at 7 p.m.
So
So,
November 9th at 7 p.m. East Germany time. Set your watches, people. This will be happening.
Yeah.
And you could create a binding agreement with yourself to do that.
Segue.
As Mr. Matt
Loved it.
Mayberry, contributor to entrepreneur.com, would have us believe.
I think it's really important that you highlight what he calls himself.
He
Did
calls
you
him,
write-
yeah, Matt Mayberry, his self-given title is Speaker and Maximum Performance Strategist, CEO of Matt Mayberry Enterprises.
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
I was one of only 2 people who sort of took a very negative view of this article.
Yeah.
In the comments, I noticed, I read through them, and most people's reaction to his ideas, which are essentially that every day you should make a contract with yourself to get as much out of that day as you can, basically. To you know, actually, I have to say, there's no real advice in this,
No.
except to start every day by saying, I, Matt Mayberry, abide by the terms of this contract, and the contract says that everything that is placed on my things to do for today will be done passionately and quickly. I mean, that's essentially his advice.
A very specific to-do list, which is an idea not that he didn't make up, and he admits in the article.
Right.
It's from a book, and he was like, "This was a great idea. Look at it." So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I get. It makes my hair stand up on the back of my neck when people talk about like maximum productivity, like
Yeah.
100% efficiency, all that stuff.
Right.
These are like, in my opinion, if that's how you're thinking about work, like as on a percentage of productivity, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway.
Right. I would think that if there would be certain kinds of jobs where this would totally apply. You know what I mean? It's like I'm making 1,000 pairs of jeans today. Like, okay, you can measure that how many
Right.
did I make?
Yeah.
But it's like if you're in any sort of field where there are things that can't be quantified in that way, this is not super helpful. And doing something quickly also is not useful for a lot of. I don't aim to like I'm an artist and I make a design and I don't aim to do it quickly. I aim to do it well, and it takes as long as it takes.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
even in the most menial jobs, though, as employers and managers,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that the last thing that we should be caring about is what percentage of a person's time was used with 100% effectiveness.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm much more interested in how happy they are doing their job,
Yeah.
how passion is not something that you can measure in a percentage. And you can't measure it by how many hours you spent on a project. You
Yeah,
can only
right.
measure it by the quality and the quality of life of the person who's doing it. So this sort of like capitalist, time-oriented, percentage-oriented look at view of what work is really bothersome to me.
Yeah,
the
it
setting
is
agreement
gross.
itself is like the word is kind of like having this negative effects on me.
Yeah.
Like personally, I'm like I don't want to like set up an agreement with me. Like
Yeah.
you make me feel like he makes me feel like this person is kind of a robot.
He's
Right.
talking
You know
to
what I
people
mean?
who hate their jobs.
Yeah.
That must be true. And
Right.
like actually physically writing this like ridiculous contract to me. Also
How
is
would you?
gross. Why
Like,
would I do
if you
this?
feel like you need to do that, then you need to look harder at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just get up and want to do it.
Right.
So I'm doing that. Also, can I say that he was not a very articulate.
He's a terrible writer.
He wrote that
Whatever.
mental attitude is a recipe for mediocrity. It was like I can't even read that. I hate you so much.
So many mixed metaphors.
Yes.
Well, Matt, thank you for your advice, but
6 thumbs down.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you for joining us for this first part of the podcast. We'll be back with 2 more sessions just after this break.